I do think we're having a cultural reckoning here, and I think it's obviously long needed, and it's great. I'm hopeful that policy will catch up. I do think it comes right at the edge of, as we start to think, we've been pushing, we called it, 5, 6 years ago, we called it lean in, we called it like women in the workplace. And you've all been addressing correctly that this is about power structure and not necessarily about, I think correctly about the sex of it. But very recently, in the last couple of weeks, I've even heard it here, people sort of talking about women in the workplace, calling all of it MeToo. And so I kind of wonder about, when we think about where we're going, how do we think about that? Like, how do we address that? Not every issue for women in the workplace is necessarily tied to harassment. And so how do we think about those things, especially as this has the correct platform that it should, as it didn't before?
Well, I don't think it's the responsibility of the Me Too movement to consolidate everything into one problem. There are many structural, systemic tools to the patriarchy and to keeping certain people out of power and to minimizing other people. That is just true, and one hashtag cannot fix that. I worry a little bit that those worries can be used. I'm not suggesting that you're doing this, but what I'm hearing in the backlash, to minimize the experiences that people have, to say, well, that doesn't count. That's not Me Too enough. That doesn't climb up on the level of violation to be something that you should speak out about. If you talk about that, you're going to destroy it for all the other women. I think we have to be careful about that and recognize that it really is about people claiming their own space and being able to say what they are comfortable with. If I don't like the way that you've touched me, that's all that matters. I get to decide. You don't get to decide. And that's, I think, what people are struggling with a lot.
And I think at the end of the day, regardless of what we call it, what we're trying to do is change the culture and the economy, the way that it's structured, to actually value women as fully human and equal. And so that's, I think, and I think there's been like, is it about the workplace? Is it about, and I think it's really about our lives, and whether we're at work or in the community, being able to live with safety and dignity and autonomy, and how do we get there? It'll take many organizations and campaigns and hashtags, and right, but that at the end of the day, I think that's where we're all trying to get to.
Can I say one more thing about the culture?
Yes.
So I think in the culture, too, one of the issues that keeps coming up that I hear a lot about is Franken, and that's not really a Me Too moment because of that photograph. That was just supposed to be funny. To me, that crystallizes why the culture needs to change. There's absolutely nothing funny about rape or sexual assault. Not this year, not last year, not ever. That never, ever should be funny. But we have a culture that tells women it's supposed to be funny and we're supposed to play into those jokes. It's not funny.
I love that you opened the Franken can of worms with 17 seconds left. And unfortunately, we literally only have seconds left, so we can't go further, though I think we would love to. I also wanted to say in response to this that one of the remarkable things about this moment and covering it as a journalist is that there's a hunger that's been awakened to talk about sexism, and it's very, very hard. One of the structural difficulties of having women's movements in this country, and I think around the world, is that it is, it's incredibly difficult to talk about our frustrations with misogyny, sexism, and to challenge men and male power because we love men, we need men, we like men, we rely on men. It's very hard to have moments where we can actually be open about our frustrations, and it happens sort of every 60 years or something. And we're in that moment, and a conversation like Me Too opens a window for us to acknowledge our stories and all the things that we've sort of held inside and been told we're not really allowed to be angry about. And then when we start to let the anger out, we realize we're angry about other things too. And it might not fall under the category of sexual harassment, but as long as we got this Me Too window open, I'm just gonna stick that one in there too. And so that's part of what you're talking about, is it's actually permitting us to express our anger about lots of things having to do with gendered and racial and class inequity. And a lot of stuff is getting stuffed in there, or opened up rather. But we shouldn't worry about exactly what we call it. We should just be talking about all of it.